Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria and today we are going to be doing the book recommendations tag. So I've been really lacking in like creative energy lately, and so I've been having a hard time coming up with video ideas, and I still wanted to recommend some books. So I recently saw Tori from Novel Life do this book recommendations tag and I really liked the questions. So that's what we're going to do today. So nobody actually tagged me in this video. I just wanted to do it. So I think there are 15 questions and I'm just gonna go through them and recommend them in romance books. Okay, so the first question is, what is a book that you tell people is your favorite? And that's hard. I have a lot of favorites, but one that I tend to go for when I'm talking to people that I don't know very well and they learn that I'm a reader and they are like, oh, can you recommend me a book? I tend to lean more towards historicals because the people who ask me that are usually older. They're usually like friends of my mom or friends of my aunts or stuff like that, who my mom mentions, or my grandmother, who knows that I'm a reader, mentions that, oh, Victoria's a reader. So it tends to be more older people who ask me in person when they find out that I'm a reader. So a lot of the time I lean towards historicals just because I think that they're ones that I think are more approachable for a lot of people. They're more, I guess, socially accepted for women to read because a lot of times, like, I read indie books, I don't read traditionally published books, and I don't think that these people are actually going to go out and buy indie books that you can't get for easily. So one book that is an absolute favorite of mine that I love dearly that I tend to say is Never Seduce a Scot by Maya Banks. This is a Scottish historical, and it's rival families. Their two families are feuding, and the king orders the clan leader from one family and the daughter of the clan leader from another family to get married. And the daughter of the clan leader from one of the families is actually deaf, and everyone thinks that she is crazy. And the hero in this book is just an absolute sweetheart, and as soon as she becomes his wife, he is 100% devoted to her, even though he hates her family. He's like, she's my wife now, and he won't let any of his people be mean to her. And they end up having a beautiful, beautiful love story, and I just think it's a really sweet book, and it's the one that I always tell people is my favorite. The second question is a book that's a guilty pleasure, and this is I don't feel guilty for reading romance. I don't feel guilty for reading the dirtiest, filthiest smut out there. It is not something that I have any shame over. I'm not a timid person. I'm very blunt. I'm very secure in that way, and so I don't have a book that I feel guilty for reading. I guess if I had to like choose something to like recommend to you here, I'm gonna recommend some Jessica Cain novellas. They're just literally just like smut. They're like 60 pages. I think that some of them are really, really great, and I have an absolutely fun time reading them. But yeah, I don't feel guilty for reading romance. I don't feel guilty for reading in general. So for a recommendation for this question, I'm going to recommend you Jessica Cain novellas, but I don't feel guilt for reading them. The Jessica Cain novella that I would absolutely recommend are her Big Boy series. So the third question is, what is a book that everyone loved but you didn't? This is a fun one. So the first book that popped into my head when I read this question is Look the Part by Jewel E. Ann. This is, I believe, the only book that I've ever read by Jewel E. Ann, and I know that a lot of people absolutely love this book. I think on Goodreads, like most of the people that I'm friends with on Goodreads gave it 5 stars. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't really like it. I didn't connect with it. I didn't love the entire second half, and I was unprepared for the prologue. I believe it's the prologue. There wasn't like, I didn't read any sort of like trigger warnings for it, and so I was like unprepared for what happened in the prologue, and I think that that led to a lot of the dislike of it. But I also didn't like the entire second half of the book, so there wasn't much about that book that I actually like really enjoyed. I liked the hero's son. I believe it's the hero's son, but that's about it. The next question is, what's a book you read the fastest? I read fast in general. It is rare when a book takes me more than a day or two to read it. But one is, that's actually a little bit cheating because it's a series that I'm going to recommend, that I'm going to say for this question, is the Read Rivers trilogy by Rowe. I read all 3 of these books in like a day and a half. I was absolutely like obsessed with them and like completely continuing with them. The minute that I finished one of them, I bought and started reading the next one in the series. So there's 3 books, and it's about a hero who is Read Rivers, and he owns a record label, and he's basically thought of as having this like Midas touch, where he's a very, very successful, smart businessman, and the things that he puts his backing behind and the things that he puts his money behind make him a lot of money. They become very successful, and so he's very like a savant of the music industry. He's very well known in the music industry, and he ends up actually giving a talk at a college, and that is where he meets the heroine. The heroine is finishing up her senior year, I guess, of college, and she actually goes to this talk for somebody else that's on the panel. She doesn't know who Read Rivers is, but she ends up flirting with him throughout the talk, sort of like with her eyes, and then they meet later at a bar and end up starting a romance from there. Although they both have very, very fiery personalities, they both have a hard time admitting that they're wrong, admitting that they might actually like have made a mistake about something or anything along those lines. Reed is very used to people sort of using him in the music industry, and just because he is so successful, so he makes a lot of snap judgments that he maybe shouldn't make. And Georgina is intensely strong-willed and independent, and so she doesn't want to like get any help or anything from him, even when she like desperately needs it. So it's a very, very fun series. It's very fiery characters, and their romance is heavily passionate and so enjoyable. And I read those books one after the other, and like I didn't sleep. I just like stayed up and like read all of the books. And I finished all 3 of them in like a day and a half. So the 5th question is a book that you think deserves more hype. And for this one, I'm actually going to go with another series, and that is Claire Kingsley's Bailey Brothers series. I have seen people read this on BookTube, but I really like thought of this one because of Book Talk, actually. I see people recommending like small town romances all the time on TikTok, and nobody ever includes this series. And I'm just like, this is one of the best small town romance series that I have ever read. It's probably one of my all-time favorite small town romance series. It's an amazing series in general. I absolutely love Claire Kingsley's writing. The heroes in it are amazing. The stories, the romances, love them so freaking much. 2 of her books were in my top 22 of 2022 of last year, 2 of the Bailey Brothers books. But nobody ever recommends them, or I never see them talked about in people's like small town romance recommendations videos. And because of that, I'm gonna go with that series. The next question is a fun one. It's a book that is becoming a movie or a TV show. There are a lot of ones that are coming a movie or TV show. I know that the Daisy Jones and the Six TV show just came out, and I know that there are a bunch more that are in like production right now. I am not a big fan when my absolute favorite books become TV shows. So like, I know that the ACOTAR series is being made into a TV show. I wish they would cancel it. I don't want that to happen. I don't think that they're going to do it right, and I would rather them not do it at all than do it completely wrong. And just from like experience of people making TV shows and movies out of books, I don't think they turn out well. But one that I am excited for is actually the Percy Jackson series. They made movies of the Percy Jackson series ages ago. Those movies were bad. They were awful. But this time they're making them much more true to the books, and the author, Rick Riordan, is actually heavily involved in it. So I'm very excited for that. I know that it's on Disney Plus and it's going to be out late the end of this year or early next year maybe. Another one that is coming out is, I just heard that People We Meet on Vacation is being made into a movie. I actually didn't read that book, but I would see that movie. I actually tend to like the movie versions a lot more of books that I don't want to read. I don't think I'll like Emily Henry's books, so I don't plan on reading her books, but I would watch the movie. Another one that's actually coming out really, really soon is the Wait With Me movie by Amy Daws. Amy Daws is one of my favorite authors, and I actually don't like the Wait With Me book. That's the only Amy Daws book that I didn't like, but I'm still gonna watch the hell out of that movie. So there's a whole bunch that you can choose from. The next question is a book that you have reread the most. I am going to go with one that will be of nobody's surprise, and that is Him by Sarina Bowen. I have probably read that book more than 10 times. It is one of my all-time favorites. It is a hockey childhood friends to lovers romance with a bi awakening. And I love it with all of my heart. Number 8 is a book from a genre that you don't typically read. So I read almost 99%, basically 99% romance. So a book that is not romance that I'm going to recommend is the first one that I actually thought of. I have it right here. And that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. There is technically a little bit of a tiny romance in this book, but it's not really, like, it's not a romance book at all. And the romance is very, very small and not at all like the main plot. This book, I actually never know what I would call the genre of this book. I would say like cozy, magical fantasy, I guess. But this one is about a government worker who works for basically like the, like child services, and he is sent to a magical orphanage full of magical children to basically like look at them and see if all of the correct like rules are being followed. And his life is like completely changed, eyes opened. He is very much of like a pencil pusher and like always follows the rules and to like the letter. And he has his eyes very much opened when he is around the caretaker of the orphanage and also the magical children that are in this orphanage. And it is an absolutely beautiful, amazing story. It was one of my top favorite books of, I believe, 2020, and it's fantastic. Okay, the next one is a book that deserves all the hype that it gets. There are a lot that I could say, but the one that I first thought of was Giana Darling's Fallen Men series. I hear people talk about Giana Darling's Fallen Men series all the time, talking about and gushing about how amazing it is, and I 150% agree. I have loved every single book in that series. I've given so many of them 5 stars. Welcome to the Dark Side is one of my all-time favorite books ever. So is Inked in Lies, and I love the books in that series. I cannot wait until the next one comes out. I am so sad that it has not, it was supposed to come out early last year and it hasn't come out, and I am so sad about that, and I am counting down until Giana Darling is able to release that book. But I absolutely love it. I love Giana Darling's writing style. It's very poetic and romantic, and for books that are dark romances and have very dark and violent topics, her writing style matches so interestingly and so beautifully, and I absolutely love those books. The next question is a book that you usually recommend when I'm asked to give a recommendation. So for this one, I'm going to go with Always Only You by Chloe Liese. This is a hockey romance. The heroine works for the PR for the hockey team, and the hero is a hockey player. And the heroine has both rheumatoid arthritis and autism. And it is a virgin hero and a hero falls first and hero pining romance. It is a beautiful, adorable romance that I love with all of my heart. I do not have rheumatoid arthritis, but I do have chronic pain, and I related to a lot of what Frankie, the main heroine, goes through, and I just thought that she was so confident and strong, and I loved her so much. I loved their romance, and I recommend that book all the time. Number 11 is a book that has your favorite character. For this one, I'm gonna go with Broken Vow by Sophie Lark. The heroine in this book is named Riona, and I love her so freaking much. She is a heroine that I heavily relate to. She is a lawyer, and she is very, she has a lot of walls up, and a lot of people think that she is a little snarky, a little bitchy, a little like fiery, and I always see myself in those heroines. I related to every decision that Riona makes in that book, and it's a bodyguard romance. So she is in danger, and her friend hires her a bodyguard, and she is forced to sort of be vulnerable around this bodyguard. His name is Rylan, and they end up having a romance, and I love it so much. It's so good. It's a mafia romance. Highly recommend it. Number 12 is a book that you wish that you could live in. So a lot of people for this question would probably choose a fantasy. I know that I would love to live in Valeris, but that's not the answer that I'm gonna give, because all the fantasy books tend to have some sort of war or like fighting going on, and I would not do well during those things. I would die so quickly in a war. I would not do well. I would not survive. I'd really like to think that I'm the heroine that would just like pick up a sword and like start fighting or something, but no, I don't run. I don't go outside. I would die so fast. So the book that I'm actually going to choose, the world that I would love to be a part of, I'm going to choose the Harris Brothers series by Amy Daws. Those books take place in England. They are very highly focused on professional soccer in England, and I would absolutely love to not only live in Europe and England, I would love to be a part of their friendship group. They have amazing family ties, but also just like found family elements, because there's a core family, but they keep adding more people to it, and they're so open and welcoming, and I would just love to be a part of that family and that friend group and be around those people that have such amazing like senses of humor and are so open and welcoming. And I have always wanted to live in Europe, so I think it would be great. Number 13 is a book that you thought you would hate but ended up loving. So I actually went with Close Quarters by Kandi Steiner for this one. This book is a cheating romance, and I have always avidly stated that I don't like cheating romances. But I decided to read this book, and I ended up really enjoying it. I actually give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I was like rooting on the cheating, which is not something that I ever thought that I would do. This one is about a billionaire hero who he is on a boat. He owns this boat, and they are touring on this boat for the summer, I guess, and the heroine's boyfriend works on the boat, and the heroine is invited onto the boat by the billionaire hero. And so she is with her boyfriend. She has a boyfriend. Her boyfriend works on the boat, but she ends up starting a romance with the main owner of yacht, I guess. I keep saying boat. It's like a yacht. So she starts having a romance with the owner of the yacht, and I was like full cheering on this cheating. I was like, let's speed it up. Let's cheat faster. Your boyfriend sucks. Which is not something I ever thought I would do. And so I ended up really enjoying this romance, and that was really surprising for me. Another reason why I thought that I wouldn't love this is because I didn't like other Kandi Steiner books, and so I was worried that I didn't like Kandi Steiner, but it ended up just being the series that I had read that I didn't like, and I like other Kandi Steiner books, so that was really great and exciting for me. Number 14 is a book that made you cry. There is very few books that make me cry. I can count them on one hand, the amount of books that have made me cry, but the one that I'm going to go with is actually the book that made me cry most recently, and that is Real by Kennedy Ryan. I read this at the end of last year, I think in like November or something of last year, and this book is a absolutely gorgeously written, beautiful, emotional story about a heroine named Neva who is a singer and an actress, and she gets cast in this movie, and she's never been an actress before, but she gets cast in this movie by this director named Cannon, who's the hero, and they have a forbidden style romance, but the heroine Neva has lupus, and she ends up struggling very heavily with lupus, and I ended up crying towards the end of this book, basically the last like 2 chapters, and I struggle with chronic illness, and I related heavily to a lot of what Neva was going through, and I loved seeing Cannon's reaction to what she was going through, and just the way that he talked about her, and the way that she was able to see herself because of how he saw her was just stunningly beautiful, and it made me cry. So then the last question is number 15, a book you wish you could read for the first time, and I always have the same answer for this question, and that is Crescent City Book 1 by Sarah J. Maas. I absolutely adore Crescent City. It is one of my all-time favorite books. I love it absolutely to pieces. The emotional impact that that book had on me when I read it the first time, and actually every time since I've read it. That book is like 700 pages, but I've read it maybe 6 times. It is an amazing book that I love from start to finish. I didn't think that it was boring for a second. I didn't think that there was anything wrong with it. I love it 100%. And the twist at the end in the last like 100 pages, I was utterly shocked when I first read it, and I was not expecting it, and I would love to experience that for the first time. So that's the one I'm gonna go with. But that's all the questions, all 15. I will link the original, the person who made the original video down below. And I will also link Tori from Novel Life's channel. She is the video that I saw that made me want to do this video. So I'll link both of them down below, but that's going to be it. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this and got some nice book recommendations, and that you find a book that you enjoy. That's going to be it. So like this video if you liked it, subscribe, and I will see you next time. And I hope that you have the absolute best day.